Okay, we are live, and Susanna and I, Foster May, are here to talk about American-born Chinese, and this is our group of two. We have not heard from Kelsey as of this time, so we are going to begin our discussion now. And to take it off, we're going to talk about first point. Why did Yang choose to incorporate the story of the Monkey King into his memoir? So you were just telling me what you thought about that, and did you want to repeat that a little bit?
Okay. For this question, I think that Yang, or if that's the right pronunciation of the author, the writer of this story, included the Monkey King into this story because he wants to bring the past or make connection from the past to the present, or it's just an outside force to make his um, the theme of his story more clearer. So he's not like using that story because it is one, to me as I read it, it's like one of the legend that are well known throughout this culture from generations to generations. So just using this story and like the Monkey King, it's really attract others' attentions, and it's like making them see, want to read what's gonna happen, how this story in the past will connect with the main theme or the idea that the author want to tell the reader. So this how, so to make things clearer,
Yeah,
just like a great opening approaching.
I really
Oh,
like. Yeah, I really liked what you had to say about that. I hadn't quite thought of it like that until you said it. So think that was a good comparison between ancient folklore or ancient stories that probably have been apparent in Chinese Chinese history for a long time that they passed down to their kids, possibly, and everything. So when he was a kid in school, that was probably something he could relate to. And obviously, in this style, in his writing or in this graphic novel, he likes to accentuate and augment things a little bit. So he likes to emphasize um, kind of the fact that he felt different, and by using all that imagery and giving the monkey these crazy abilities that he was able to learn just by practicing, right? So
right. Mhm.
um, yeah, I thought that was definitely an interesting connection to make between the life um, of Jin and the monkey god himself. And later in the story, we get to see how they actually come together, but we don't know
Mhm.
that in the beginning. So let's see. How does this folklore adaptation function in Yang storytelling? I think we kind of just talked about that, how it functions together to bring the two stories together, because they both kind of go through the similar trials, right?
Yeah, right. Mhm.
So, like we were saying, just a little before, how both felt like they were outsiders, right?
Right. Yeah, and one thing I was thinking about of that was the images of the Monkey King, and how, like at the beginning of the story, how he tried to go to heaven, and then from there he was not accepted, and because of not wearing shoes, and then when he returned, he was telling the others to try to put on shoes just to make themselves fit in. So it's just like there is a great relevance between that opening story and what he was trying to say later. So the two stories in the past and in the present, but they are in the weaving in one way or another. If
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the societal attitudes, values, or ideals that are conveyed and challenged
mhm,
in the book.
or
Um,
to attributes, the values or tears.
I think first of all, most apparent would be the stereotypes, and I think that would be the most apparent in what we are trying to challenge in our society, because as an outsider, people, or as a foreign person, people often come to a country like America, and it is not uncommon for them to feel like they have lost their part of their culture, or having a
Right.
hard time to connect to find people similar to them, because we do consider it be a melting pot. And although you can find maybe your family or your like-minded people, often you have to maybe live a double life, where at home you can practice your same cultural traditions and maybe speak your mother tongue to your family and everything, but at school you'll be a whole new person, right? So we see the struggle that Jin goes through at school, and when he finally meets Wen Cheng, the other boy from Taiwan, they immediately have a connection, and that was important for the story, because they both needed each other, and it showed that they are not truly alone. But then how Jin was teaching the other boy American ideals so that he could fit in better at school.
Right. And then one values that I like on this story is humility. As we read, the Monkey King, when he was buried on the mountain,
Of
and
rock.
then
Yes.
who was that monk? I don't really know the name. He went over and tried. He didn't do anything because he was that skinny, as we all imagine how a monk is. But then he had to try it himself. He had to free himself in order to save the monk from those who were trying to burn or whatever was there. But then trying to be, he changed, he improved from just posting and saying that he's powerful, and that's like the beginning to the end. And then he ended up being humble. So that's one values that shows on the story. Is also this is what happened oh, to Danny. Am I the right one? Or to Jin? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what happened to him. So it's like connecting that what our parents or our grandparents, our ancestors believed in the past will still happen in our cultures nowadays. So like it's our culture. We can't run away from it, and we need to really know who we are. So we need to be humble of who we are, no matter how unfair the stereotype is. Like what you said, like us in the if we come over to the United States, we are from the Pacific, small scattered islands, and then we are trying to fit in, but then at the same time, just the unfair stereotype and the racism and those things, it's
Right.
really so we need to be humble. And
Humble and
mhm,
remember the person that you are, right? In the end of the story, the Monkey King accepts that he's a monkey, and that's what he was made to be. That's forever what he will be. And when he tried to escape, basically his creator, when he thought he had gotten away, really it just showed that he was um, created by that deity or whomever he was. And the
mhm,
same thing with Jin, when after he had changed and wished to become like everyone else and turned into
mhm.
Danny. Later, he realized that he could be happy with the person that he was, and he made friends again with Wen Chen. Um, I'm gonna pause. We're not gonna pause, but I'm going to. I just got a message from Kelsey in our group, an email.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna see
Yeah,
if I can add her right now.
yeah, you can add here.
She said,
Oh, yeah.
let's see, Kelsey.
Oh, I think she sent one. I'll just minimize this for now, and just go look a bit.
I'm adding her to see if she gets this. Let's send her a little message telling her we invited her.
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I just sent her one message.
Um, so the next thing we'd be talking about is how does this story challenge conventional literary forms and genres?
American Born Chinese challenged conventionally literary forms and genres. Well, to me, what I understand of this story is that I just wrote down that this author Wang used three different stories, but then at the end of the story, he was kind of summing up that they are all related, and the one in the past and the present is the same. So he's like using the Monkey King is like a metaphor or just something to make his story. I've said this at the beginning already, something like that. Just make it more meaningful. Like the monkey, he was a hero who achieved his mission and then accept who he is and then improvement and that's humility. So it's like three different stories with different theme or lessons, but then they are all interweaved together. They are just for one, it's like for the cultures, important of cultures, and not and ignoring the unfair stereotype, but just believe who we are, just accept who we are, using different stories.
I think another good way that it challenges other conventional literary forms and genres would be bringing an important topic like we've discussed and putting it into a lighthearted, easily communicative style, being very graphic and still lighthearted and funny, so easy for almost anyone to follow. It was an enjoyable, pleasing read and visually stimulating at the same time. And you can see that it could be, it could target an audience from almost all ages. So you could help to teach kids about being more accepting of other children that don't maybe look the same or have a different skin color or speak a different language or eat a different kind of food. So it really seems like he was able to reach a wider array of an audience through the style that he used, even though it was a little less conventional when generally approaching a topic as important as this, I would say.
Oh, you said it right. Yeah, that's the idea. Like I like how you say it. It's very easy to study for any age. So it's
Right.
because the language is simple using graphics. Yeah, that's great.
And so
Thanks for for that.
I
That's
think we
great.
already talked about this point too. In what ways does Yang make the ancient legend of the Monkey King relevant for contemporary readers? Um, he made it relevant, like you said, by bringing the two stories together and by showing how ancient stories and folklore and storytelling traditions can still have the same effect as in a contemporary work today. And with the style that he chose to present his work in, he was able to reach a contemporary audience and not just a Chinese audience, or not just a contemporary audience, but a worldly audience, like we mentioned, across many different age groups and levels of understanding.
Who is this one?
And no word from Kelsey yet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I think I had some specific things I might have wanted to talk about from the actual story itself.
You know, I learned so much. Although this is the first time to read a book, it's the first time for me to read a book like this, three different stories in one. But
The
then at the
yeah,
end of the
me
story,
too.
and this really gave me the idea that like superior culture, like just an example, like the Chinese American, the American born Chinese. So it's just like that. We are not appreciating others' cultures. We are thinking that we are the best, or we are looking down at that culture. But when I read this story, it's really like what you said. It's not for like the youth or for, it's for everyone. Of course, it really gives us a great lesson just to evaluate us. Are we doing those unfair stereotype, or so
Yeah,
it's really
because
help us out.
we got to remember that we all are who we are, and that
We
uh,
should be
we need to
proud of who
respect
we are.
everyone else's viewpoints and opinions, and for the person that they are. And in the last one of the last frames of the novel, the monkey god says that he would have saved himself from 500 years of imprisonment beneath a mountain of rock had he only realized how good it was to be a monkey. So it took him 500 years and still that other monk to come by, for him to realize that he wasn't inferior and he didn't have to um, really practice all that kung fu and have to master these different arts just because he was a monkey. That was only himself and his self-doubting that told him he wasn't good enough. But he realizes in the end that from that he was fine the whole time. And then when he pretended to be the cousin of Danny, he would come back every year, right? And his it seemed like his agenda, his mission was to help him and his son realize the exact same thing too. And by the end, he helps Jin to understand that, and Jin turns back to himself and then seeks out his best friend Wen Chen, who is actually the monkey god's son, and they become friends again. And basically, all the past is forgiven, and they are okay with each other and who they are.
Right. In one, you know that story that Jean's mom told him, like that family living next to the market, and then from there to the cemetery, and
Oh
then
yes,
from there to the, yeah. I like that story. It's like a parable, and then
right,
it
yeah.
happened when they are moving. So it's like they want the best for their son, for Jean,
So they get
and
them by the university.
by the university, just to near some place to, so he will
Yeah,
spend his time
good
studying.
influence around him.
So it's like just reminding us of how us parents should be with our kids, just
I think
aiming high.
uh, I think we pretty much have talked on all the points that we would like to cover. And how do you feel? Do you think there's anything else we should mention?
Mm, I think that's all. I think I am piling up all my answers just on the first one, connecting the.
Yeah, I think we've done a
But
good job to bring everything together.
yeah,
Um,
but I like how you specify that, you know, that question, literally forms and channels. Yeah, I like that how you. It's very simple, right? It's a nice one to be to teach in class, even in our middle school where I
right,
teach.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
So
any age can. So come to a time that I have to beg you to do our report. Oh yeah.
well, we'd like to thank Jill Lazard, our professor. I think this was a very interesting introduction into the course and
All
into
right.
a different type of genre and writing style than we had both really been privy to before. So I think that pretty much ends our discussion. And sorry, Kelsey, that we couldn't figure things out. We'll see if we can connect with you now, and maybe we can have your help with writing the write-up for our discussion. And yeah.
Of course. So when is the due time? Is it due tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna end the broadcast now. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So